everyone, it's Rachel, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make 5 simple polymer clay charm designs which are perfect for beginners or just people starting out using clay. I do also have some other videos that I've previously made in this little series, so if you would like to check them out, I'll leave the links down below in the description box. When you're a beginner, I also realize that you may not have the many fancy polymer clay tools, and that's okay because most of the tools I'm going to be using in this video can be substituted for things that you can find around the house, such as toothpicks, bobby pins, safety clips, and paper clips. Any color of clay that I also use in this video can of course be changed around to a color that you have available to you as well. So the first design I'm going to be showing you how to make today is a s'mores charm. So to begin, I'm taking this tan coloured clay which I'm going to be using for the cracker or the biscuit of the s'more. I've placed it down on my work surface and then I'm going to be using my acrylic clay roller to flatten this down into the thickness that I would like the cracker to be. If you don't have a roller specifically for clay, you can instead use the handle of a paintbrush or even use a pen. I'm then using my blade to trim the clay to size, and you want to end up with 2 even-sized rectangles like I have here. To add some detail to the cracker, I'm going to be taking my dotting tool and I'm gently adding 6 little indents into each of the crackers. It's then time to add some realistic texture, and to do this there are lots of different tools that you can use, but the way I'm going to be adding my texture today is with the bristles of a toothbrush. So to do this, I just very gently pat the clay with my toothbrush and it adds a really nice realistic looking biscuit texture. It's then time to create the marshmallow. So to do this, I'm taking a white ball of clay and I'm shaping it into a very puffy looking cylinder shape just between my fingers. So mine looks something like this, and then the last thing we need to do is create the chocolate using a dark brown piece of polymer clay. So I rolled this down onto my work surface and then I'm roughly pressing it down so it's the same size as the s'mores cracker. And then here I'm just removing it from my work surface gently because it did get a little bit stuck, and I'm just using my blade to do this. We then want to add some shading to the top of the marshmallow to make it look like it has been nicely toasted. So I'm going to be using a few different colours of chalk pastels, and I'm going to be using the shavings. But if you don't have any chalk pastels, you can also use any kind of powdered pigment or even any old makeup that you may have laying around. Here I'm using a fluffy paintbrush to dust my chalk pastel shavings on top of the marshmallow. Finally, it's time to assemble everything together. So I've started off by flipping over one of the crackers and then I'm placing the chocolate on top of that. Then I'm going ahead and positioning the marshmallow in the center before then adding the final cracker on top. If you would like to make your design into a charm, you can go ahead and add an eye pin, which you can buy from craft stores or you can make them yourself. And then it's time to bake it in your oven according to your package's instructions. After baking, I usually take some super glue and I use this to secure the eye pin into the clay so that it doesn't fall out. And then optionally, you can also glaze your charm as well. So this is what my s'mores design ended up turning out like. In the past, when I've also made these designs, I have added a little face to the marshmallow just to make it look a little bit more cute. So that's something you might like to try out as well. The next design I am going to be teaching you how to make is this watermelon charm. You want to begin with the colour of your watermelon, which is completely up to you. You might prefer a watermelon that looks more red or a watermelon that has more pink tones to it like I have here. You'll want to use your roller or a similar tool to flatten the clay down on your work surface and make sure it's nice and even in thickness. You can then use your blade or something similar to trim the clay, and we want it to look like a slice of watermelon, so I've created a little bit of a triangle here, and then I'm just taking a round cookie cutter as well, and I'm trimming off the bottom part so that it's nicely rounded. Once you're happy with the shape of your watermelon slice, you can then go ahead and take some white clay, and we're going to be creating the rind. So I rolled this clay into a coil on my work surface just using my fingers, and then I flattened the clay down using my rolling pin. I then took the flesh part of the watermelon and I placed it on top of the rind so that I could measure it properly for size. And you can see I just used my blade to cut away the excess clay, and then here I'm just making sure it's all the right size, and I'm using my smaller blade to cut off the side parts. We're then just going to pretty much repeat this process using some green polymer clay as well to finish off the outside of the rind. So again, I'm flattening it down on my work surface, and then I'm using my slice of watermelon to measure and cut it to size, and I'm just cutting away all the excess clay. Now, like with the s'mores charm, there are many different ways that you could add texture to your watermelon. Again, I'm going to be using the bristles of a toothbrush, and here I'm just lightly tapping the clay all over and on the sides and the back as well. To create the seeds, I'm taking some little offcuts of black polymer clay and I'm pinching one side of the clay to create a little point, so then the seeds end up looking very similar to a teardrop. I decided just to make 3 little seeds for my watermelon design, and then I placed them on gently, just using one of my tools to position them where I wanted. Finally, you can add an eye pin if you would like to make it into a charm, and then bake it in your oven according to your package's instructions. After baking, you can secure the eye pin with some super glue, and then optionally you can also add some glaze as well. So here's what my little watermelon charm looks like once it's completely finished, and I really love the way this design looks. Next up, I'm going to be teaching you how to make this simple bird nest charm. So begin with the color of clay that you would like to use for the nest. For mine, I'm taking this brown color, which is called Hazelnut by Sculpey. Start off by placing the clay on your work surface and then roll it with your hands until you have a nice long coil to work with. Next, we want to fold this coil in half and place it together so that you have the 2 ends side by side, and it's kind of like a double coil. We're then going to twist the 2 coils of clay together to give it a really nice swirly look, and it kind of gives the illusion of lots of little sticks in the bird nest kind of woven together as they would in real life. It's then time to create the shape of the nest. So here you can see I'm twisting the clay almost into a lollipop kind of shape. And then once I have a bit of a base to work with, I'm just slowly working the coil up onto itself to make it more the shape of a basket or a bowl. Once I'm happy with the size, I then trim off the excess, and then I just pat it down at the end, as well as kind of blending it together a little using my dotting tool. So this is what my nest currently looks like. I then also added some brown clay on the inside, so then when I add the eggs in a moment, they stick out the top and they're not completely covered up by the sides of the nest. Now you can take the colour that you would like to use for your eggs. I'm going to be using this very pastel blue colour, and I just separated my piece of clay into 3 even sections. Then to create the egg shape, you can roll the clay between your fingers and then also very gently pinch one end of the clay to perfect the egg shape just a little bit more. Once I was happy with how my 3 eggs looked, I then placed them side by side in the nest and I arranged them how I would like them to look. Once you've done that, you can then add an eye pin if you would like to turn it into a charm, and then bake it in your oven according to your package's instructions. After baking, I like to take some super glue and I use this to secure the eye pin so it doesn't come out, and then of course optionally you can also glaze your charm as well. So here's a look at how my bird's nest turned out. The next charm is a cactus with a little flower, and I think this is probably one of my favorites in this video. Begin by taking the green color that you would like to use for the cactus and start off with a piece of it in a ball. You then want to roll this ball on your work surface to create a very rough teardrop looking shape, and once you pat it down, you can begin creating the shape that you would like for the main body of the cactus. You can see the shape of mine is very rounded and the top is wider than the bottom as well. Once you're happy, then you can take 2 more balls of that same colored clay and roll 2 more teardrops on your work surface, and these are going to become the arms of the cactus. To create a little bit of a curve in the arms, I'm just pressing the clay against my finger, which gives it a little bit of a bend. And then I just did the exact same with the other arm as well. And then I flattened both of these down onto my work surface so that they were the same thickness of the main body part. Next, you can use a blade or a similar tool to trim off the pointed end so that you have a flat surface to work with, and then you can connect the 2 arms onto the cactus. Then, just to be extra safe, you want to use one of your tools to blend the pieces of clay together to avoid them easily breaking off. Next, I'm using a needle tool and I'm gently creating 2 indented lines right down the center of my cactus and then also on the side parts as well. To make the cactus look like it has some spikes, I'm using a small dotting tool, and in each section I'm adding some small circular indents. You could also use some little pieces of clay and stick these onto your cactus for the spikes, but I quite like the effect of the indents. Moving on to creating the flower, I'm going to be using some yellow clay for the center and pink clay for the petals. So to create the petals, just roll 5 small balls of clay into tiny little teardrops, and then here you can see I'm connecting mine together just on my work surface. I then just simply added a small ball of yellow clay in the center, and then I connected the flower onto the cactus. Go ahead and add an eye pin if you would like to make this into a charm, and then you can bake it in your oven according to your package's instructions. After baking, you can see here I'm using some super glue to secure the eye pin so it doesn't fall out, and then this is what my cactus charm looks like. As you can see, it is a flat back charm, so I haven't added any detail onto the back, but I do really love how this design turned out. Moving on to the very last charm for this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a little kawaii cat head. So for the cat in this video, I'm choosing to use a light orange color. I'm beginning by flattening down a ball of this clay into an oval dome shape on my work surface for the shape of the head. Next, to create the ears, take a ball of the same colored clay, begin by flattening this down between your fingers, and then you can use your thumb and your index finger to pinch each end of the clay, and this will create a diamond looking shape. You then want to do the same with a smaller piece of pink clay and then position this small pink diamond onto the larger diamond. Once you've done this, you can cut it in half with your blade and you should end up with 2 even-sized triangles for the ears, and then you can position these onto the head where you would like them. To make these nice and secure so they don't fall off, I'm just blending down the edges of the clay using my needle tool. Next, we're going to create the face of the cat, so I'm beginning by creating 2 indents where I would like the eyes to go. I'm then taking a coil of black clay and I'm cutting off 2 even-sized sections and rolling these into balls between my fingers. You can then just gently place the eyes into the indents we have already made. For the other features, including the mouth and the whiskers, you want to take some black clay and try your best to roll it as thin as you can into a coil. And this process can take a little bit of time and practice, so if you don't nail it the first time, I wouldn't worry too much and then you can just try again. Once you're happy with the size, you can then trim some small pieces off. So I'm beginning with the mouth and I'm creating 2 small U shapes of clay. So you can see here I'm just curving the clay while it's still stuck to my blade, and then I'm going to position these in the center of my cat's face and place them together into a little mouth. I also attached on a small piece of black clay for the nose, and then I've just got some little straight coils of clay on either side, which are going to be the whiskers. Keep in mind that making a face like this can take a little bit of practice, so if it doesn't work the first time, you can just really gently remove the black clay that you added and have another go. Finally, I'm going to be adding some little stripes for the cat's markings. So I'm taking this slightly darker orange clay and I'm rolling it into a teardrop with a pointed end, and then I'm just flattening it down on my work surface. I made 3 of these and then I'm just attaching them onto the cat's head. So I started off by placing one in the center just so I could easily measure it, and then I'm positioning one on either side as well. Finally, go ahead and add an eye pin if you'd like to make it into a charm, and then you can bake it in your oven according to your package's instructions. After baking, I'm taking my super glue and I'm using this to secure the eye pin so it doesn't fall out. And then optionally, you can also glaze your charm as well. So here's what my completed kawaii cat looks like. Again, this is a flat back design charm, so all of the detail is on the front. So that is how you make 5 simple charms using polymer clay. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel for lots more crafty videos and beginner videos. And I'll see you next time. Bye guys.